Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It is January 19, 2023. We are in the Old Testament. We're in the book of Genesis. We're going to read chapter 18, verse 16 to 33 today. Okay, so we've been looking through the story of Abraham and his wife Sarah, and we've built off of the story previous of Noah, which we said that was all about a covenant of obedience with Abraham and Sarah. We're seeing a covenant that builds on that obedience and starts adding faith to that, strengthening the relationship. We also said, as we were looking through Genesis, that it was a tale of two basic themes. We've got that one theme that runs through Abel and Seth, and down to Noah and down to Abraham, which is again obedience and faith and rebuilding a relationship with God that we lost in the fall from the Garden of Eden. So that's where we've been traveling. But what about that other path that went through Cain and Lamech and through Babel and through all these people that were for themselves and decided, hey, you know what, we don't need God, we can do it ourselves. We can create our own Eden, but it's turning out worse and worse and worse. In fact, in the time of Noah, it was so bad, God just said, you know what, I'm just going to wipe it all out. We're going to try again. And we saw from Noah, well, that we got that branch again. We have they had that one side that was following obedience. What about that evil side? We haven't looked at that yet. Now we're going to look at that one. We get to the towns of Sodom and Gomorrah, and we see that this is where the people who have rejected God and are trying to create their own paradise, which is really a counterfeit of what the real paradise was, because it's based on selfishness and sin and lies and deceit. What's going on with that? Well, God's getting ready to tell us what's going to happen with them. He's going to come and he's going to judge them. But before he gets there, we still got a little bit of Abraham to deal with. And God says, hey, you know what, Abraham, this is what's going to happen to these unrighteous people. Yeah, it's not going to be like a repeat of the flood where I'm going to wipe everything out, but I'm going to wipe out this town because it's full of nasty, ugly people. And Abraham says, well, what if you go to that town and there's about 50 people there who are like me? Why 50? Well, think about your town and think that maybe 50 is a good size, nice little church. So what if God goes to this evil town, but there's a church full of people who are trying to do good? Well, then God's not going to destroy that town. He's going to give it a chance because of that group of people. Well, what if there's not 40? What if it's not a big church? What if it's a small church? Maybe there's 45 or 40 or 35 or 30. God says, you know what? Hey, if there's a group of people that are trying, they're going to, I will spare that city so that group can achieve what it's working for. What if there's only 10? Well, why 10? Well, 10 would be maybe your house. Think about your family, maybe a little extended size family. Hey, if there's one good family in this town that I go to, I'm not going to destroy it. I'm going to let those good people try and save that town. So think of it that way. So God's coming to Sodom and Gomorrah, and if he finds even a tiny group of people that have rejected the evil, that are saying, hey, you know what, God, we want to have the relationship with you. We don't want this sin in our lives. We want the relationship with you. God says, you know what, I will spare Sodom and Gomorrah. Does he find them? Well, we'll get to that tomorrow. So let's look right now at Genesis chapter 18, verse 16 to 33. Then the men arose from there and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to send them on the way. And the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham what I am doing, since Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him? For I have known him in order that he may command his children and his household after him, that they keep the way of the Lord, to do righteousness and justice. And the Lord may bring to Abraham what he has spoken to him. And the Lord said, because the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grave, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry against it that has come to me, and if not, I will know. Then the men turned away from there and went toward Sodom, but Abraham still stood before the Lord. And Abraham came near and said, would you also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Suppose there were 50 righteous within the city. Would you also destroy the place and not spare it for the 50 righteous that are in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing as this, to slay the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous should be as the wicked. Far be it from you. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? So the Lord said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes. Then Abram answered and said, Indeed now, I who am but dust and ashes have taken it upon myself to speak to the Lord. Suppose there were 5 less than the 50 righteous. Would you destroy all of the city for the lack of 5? So he said, If I find there 45, I will not destroy it. And he spoke to him yet again and said, Suppose there should be 40 found there. So he said, I will not do it for the sake of 40. Then he said, Let the Lord not be angry, and I'll speak. Suppose 30 should be found there. So he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. And he said, Indeed, now I have taken it upon myself to speak to the Lord. Suppose 20 should be found there. So he said, I will not destroy it for the sake of 20. Then he said, Let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak but once more. Suppose 10 should be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for the sake of 10. So the Lord went his way as soon as he had finished speaking with Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. May God bless the reading of his word, and may God bless you. Bye.